So you're going off as usual, David?
Yep.
Can't hear me. Okay,
I can
good.
hear. Yep.
We have our own way of queuing these things up. So
Oh.
Cool. It's 1 p.m. So James, are you okay? We get started?
Good. I'm good.
Right.
I have my runner show here, so I'm feeling really good now.
All right.
good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tom Cochran, the CEO and Executive Director of the United States Conference of Mayors here in Washington, D.C. Welcome to our first Conference of Mayors Youth Voter Engagement webinar developed by our Youth Involvement Task Force. We're honored to have mayors and youth leaders from across the nation with us today. This will be our first in a series of webinars that we are launching to help mayors and youth leaders work together to build nonpartisan voter engagement activities. We're so pleased to have Gordon Campbell with us to facilitate. Gordon was with us in Los Angeles last year when we had an incredible, our first youth summit. He is, of course, at the NYU Wagner School, the school that's named for a mayor, as the professor of public service. And he will be very helpful in our meeting today.
Is here.
And I want to thank and congratulate Topeka Mayor Michelle DeAlisa, our new chair at Youth Involvement Task Force, and also our friend, good friend from Fontana, Mayor Aquanetta Warren, as our new vice chair. We appreciate their mayoral leadership and we look forward to the work ahead. Voter engagement is such an important issue, especially as we face this national pandemic. We need the leadership of our mayors and our youth to help ensure that all eligible voters can make their voices heard and foster election integrity. So we're asking mayors and young people to work together and lead this nation on this issue. We're asking cities to start these discussions sooner rather than later, to coordinate and talk with your county and state election officials now, and to help your residents vote safely. We need cities to be spreading the word about how to vote by mail and for those voting in person to ensure that there are enough polling places, poll workers, and safety measures in place. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but we all have enormous faith in the leadership of our Youth Involvement Task Force. We appreciate James Kirby. He directs our youth, staff director of our Youth Involvement Task Force. We appreciate his good work. So let's get at it. Let's get the job done. It's really going to be up to mayors and youth. This is going to be a very unusual election and we need your help. And with all of that, I'd like to introduce the chair of our Youth Involvement Task Force from Topeka, Mayor Michelle DeAlisa. Mayor, take it from here.
Tom, what a great privilege to be here today and to have the privilege as well to be the chair this year of the Youth Task Force. I want to take this moment and privilege to thank Tom for all of the work that he has done to make sure that the Conference of Mayors has the vibrancy and the power that it has in DC and across the country. Our conference is all about unifying mayors around all of the issues that matter most to our people. And I think that it's important to recognize that mayors have a very special role in our communities because we get to interact with you. We are the ones that shop where you shop. We live in your neighborhoods. We are the ones that hear firsthand from you directly what are the issues that matter most to you. And although one of our biggest roles is to ensure that you have jobs, that you have good roads to drive on, that we have public safety and infrastructure, to make sure that all of those things are taken care of, we also have a significantly important role to ensure that our young people feel engaged in their government and understand not only the power, but the responsibility that young people have to ensure that they are part of the process of politics. And I know that it may not sound cool to sit in a room and have meetings for hours, or maybe even it's not sexy to be sitting down in a Zoom room yet again, because this is how you're gonna be in school. But guess what, guys? You guys have the ears of the mayors of America. I want you to hear that. You all have the ears of the mayors of America. And by having the ear of the mayors of America, you also have a hand in helping us shape policy at the national level. And you can do that in two ways. One of the ways we're going to discuss here today at length, and it's voter engagement. Now more than ever, your vote is crucial. We are at the intersection of 1918 and 1968, in which we have civil unrest occurring because for too long, representation has not represented the people. And you have an opportunity not only to engage yourself in civic engagement by voting, but you have a responsibility to engage your peers, to be active and not only vote, but also to be vocal in a productive way in changing policies that are not only going to impact you now, but that are going to impact you in generations to come. This is a very special year. And I am so honored to have a youth commission that is active, that is engaged, and that quite frankly mentors me on the issues that matters to them. I am privileged to have the work with Bryce Litkey. We have talked about gun violence. We have talked about mental health. We have talked about all these things, but today we're going to focus on voting. So I want to take a minute to introduce Bryce Litkey and also my phenomenal co-chair. I am so excited to have Mayor Warren join me today. So if I could have Bryce say hi to all of you really quick, and then I'm going to pass it on to the phenomenal co-chair that I am blessed to have this year, which is Mayor Warren. Bryce, could you say hi to everybody?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. My name is Bryce, as Mayor De La Isla just said. I'm the chair of the Topeka Youth Commission here in my community. And we really work to advocate and engage youth, and we work really closely with our mayor. She's been awesome in listening to us and having that two-way mentorship going on. So I would really recommend, if you don't have a youth commission, definitely reach out to the Topeka Youth Commission, because Topeka definitely has it going on.
Good morning. Before I start, is the Fontana Mayor's Youth Advisory representative on this call?
Yes, we are.
Okay, very good. Okay. I'm going to be calling you guys out in a few seconds to say a few minutes, say a few words. I just want to thank everybody for joining us. The privilege is mine, Chairwoman and Bryce. I tell you, this is a phenomenal time in our life. I'm reminded as I look on my wall and I see Mayor Tom Bradley from Los Angeles, who was my mentor. I was on Mayor Tom Bradley's Youth Advisory Council, his own Los Angeles Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, where he brought people together from all over the city. It didn't matter your race, your gender. It was just people that I had never even had an opportunity to see before growing up in South Central Los Angeles. But the way that Mayor Bradley identified me as a youth leader was my involvement with his election. It was a big deal to try to get our first African-American mayor in the city of Los Angeles. And my parents and all of our church members came together. And during that election, he kept noticing me. And when he was elected, he came and actually swore me in as student body president at my high school in South Central Locke High School. And from there, all I've done is work toward bringing people together. So as you get involved with getting people to vote, there's more than just getting them to vote. It's getting them to understand the issues that they are voting about. And as you work on this endeavor, because each and every one of you, I was only 16 and a half. It didn't matter. We still went door to door. We still knocked on everyone's programs. Whatever we needed to do, we did that to make sure this great man was elected. And the rest is history. So this is a time for you. There is no better time than what you are living in right now. You will create history. So now I'm going to turn it over to our Fontana Youth representative. You there?
Good morning. My name is Angel Flowers, and then we'll have Jerry Fang, one of our MAG members, speak right now.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon if you are on the East Coast, and kind of good morning if you are on the West Coast. My name, as Andrew Solares has said, is Jerry Fang. I just graduated from high school, but the past 3 years I have been spending a lot of time in the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council with Mayor Aquanetta Warren. And I had such an honor and privilege of being able to serve our city with our wonderful mayor who has done so much for our community. So thank you so much, Mayor Warren, for that opportunity. And so I just want to quickly talk about some things that we have been planning with the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council for Fontana. Right now, we are trying to spread word to our youth in our community and our cities through social media platforms. Since, as we all know right now, during quarantine and COVID-19, it's very hard for us to meet in person and host meetings for voter registration and teaching our public. So we thought that this might be a good way, as most of our youth is on social media. So we hope that this can help spread information to more people in our community about not just voter registration, but also pre-registration. Many people have a misconception in our area. I know for me, especially when I was in high school, I thought that you had to register once you're 18, but I didn't know you could do that when you were a junior in high school between the ages around 16 and 17. So we hope to get that message across, and we just really want everyone in our community to know how important it is for us to have an engaged population who will hold our leaders, elected official, accountable to make sure that our government is honest, transparent, and working for the people. So I'm very excited for today's meeting, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody. Thank you.
Jerry, thank you so much. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the person that is going to moderate today's conversation. Gordon is an exemplary leader. He has been a friend of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and he has been extremely interested in ensuring that youth has power and that we could help channel all of that energy into policy and into action. So NYU has been a great friend to the Conference of Mayors. Tom likes to remind us that they are the only school that is named after a mayor in the United States of America. And I am extremely proud to present to all of you Gordon Campbell, who is going to lead this conversation. Gordon, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Mayor De La Isla, Mayor Warren, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and Tom Cochran for inviting me back again to be with you. Last summer, we had the great first ever Mayor's Youth Summit in Los Angeles. And really there, we saw the power and importance of young people in cities across the country. And you know what? That work has continued. And now our next frontier, and it's a challenge, to be honest, is voter engagement, voter registration, and getting people to vote, whether it be by mail or in person. And exactly as Mayor De La Isla, Mayor Fontana, and Mayor Warren and our youth leaders talked about, the only way it's going to happen is with you, our youth leaders, working with your mayors across the country. And it's always a challenge, but think about it. It's even more so this year with a raging pandemic, a faltering economy, and serious issues around race and equity. So what we're going to do today is we're going to begin with a panel of experts in the voter registration space. They'll briefly describe the work of their respective organization and then how they can be helpful. And then we're going to turn to youth leaders and mayors across the country to hear from you what you are doing in terms of best practices and challenges that you're facing. And just to let you know, the session's being recorded. And first up on our panel, we have Jillian Duty, who's the Director of Civic Cities at When We All Vote. When We All Vote is a national, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization founded by Michelle Obama to close the race and age voting gap. And not only to increase voting participation in the upcoming presidential election, but to increase voting participation, particularly by young people in every single election. Jillian?
Thank you, Gordon. I am going to attempt to share my screen. Oh, it's not going to work. Okay, well, we'll just do this without slides. Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here. My name is Jillian. I'm the Director of Civic Cities at When We All Vote, as Gordon said. And I'll just tell you a little bit briefly about When We All Vote. So we are a national nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that was founded 2 years ago. We actually just celebrated our 2nd birthday this past Sunday. And we were founded by former First Lady and our co-chair, Michelle Obama. And we are on a mission to close the race and age voting gap in the United States. Oh, thank you, David. So, sorry, technology. So we are on a mission to close the race and age voting gap. And we do that through a number of different ways. We work with partners. We have over 250 national and media partners, as well as local partners. We also work with 200 celebrity ambassadors. So on that first slide, you may have seen some of them: Shonda Rhimes, there you go, Faith Hill, Kerry Washington, Megan Rapinoe, Chris Paul, to name just a few. We also work with over 630 student ambassadors, high school students across the country. We are in 660 college campuses, and we also work with over 60 mayors. So if you can go to the next slide, David. So Civic Cities is our mayoral engagement program, and we launched this program this past May, just 2 months ago, in partnership with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And this is the program that I lead, and this program really seeks to support mayors in taking a leading role in increasing voter registration and turnout in your communities. We believe that you all are in the best position to mobilize on a local level, and perhaps most importantly this year, serve as trusted messengers in your community to ensure that your eligible voters know their options to safely register and get ready to vote in November. So when you join Civic Cities, we provide you with city-specific data that can show you where you have gaps in your registration. We also have resources, best practices, and technical support. I have a team of 5 regional leads that are ready to support anyone that joins. And then we also connect you with broader programs that are across When We All Vote and then Civic Nation, which is our sister org. So if you go to the next slide. I want to tell you about 2 programs that are focused on youth that I think you will all be interested in learning more about. So the first one is My School Votes. And My School Votes empowers educators and students to change the culture around voting and ensures that all eligible high school seniors are registered and ready to vote. This is student-led. So I said earlier, we have 630 student ambassadors across the country. We work in multiple school districts. They've registered over 15,000 students this year. They've shifted everything online. It's been incredible, and the success of this program is due in large part to these young leaders. So if you are a young leader on the phone, please email me. I'll give you my email at the end of this. We can get you started in My School Votes, and if you're a mayor that wants to engage your local school district in getting involved, we can help there as well. And then the other program is the All-In Campus Democracy Challenge, and that is a program that works to institutionalize democratic engagement on college campuses. So we have 660 participating college campuses. It's growing every day. And so similarly, if you want to get a college, university, or community college involved, please let us know and we'll be happy to share that information. You can go to the next slide. So I just want to give you a couple of ideas around what we're doing to really ramp up. So Sunday, it's hard to believe, but Sunday marks 100 days out until the election. And so you'll see here on the right-hand side of the screen, these are some of our key big national moments and weeks of action where you all could plug in. So we have a voter registration week of action in September. We have a vote by mail and an early vote separate weeks of action in October. And then the next slide just gives you a better overview of all of the key moments that we're planning over the next 100 days. You'll see we have the Back to School Youth Engagement Week coming up, leading us all the way to November 3rd. So if you go to the next slide. This is our my contact information, so I would love to talk with any of you that have any questions or are interested in getting involved. That's my email, jillian@whenweallvote.org. You can also check us out at whenweallvote.org/civic-cities. And thank you so much for having me today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
And Jillian, thank you so much, and sharing particularly the work of Civic Cities. My School Votes, and All In. And you're so right that cities are in the best position to mobilize voters. And I know you all can be very helpful. So thanks again. So next up, we have Lauren Kunis, who's the Program Director for National Voter Registration Day, a national nonpartisan coalition and civic holiday to help eligible voters register. And I might add that this year's National Voter Registration Day is September 22nd, 2020. Lauren?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I am going to attempt to share my screen. Can folks see this? Oops.
That's better, that's good.
Excellent. Great, thank you. So my name is Lauren Kunis. I am the Program Director for National Voter Registration Day, also a graduate of the Wagner School at NYU. So I'm really liking all of these Wagner School shout outs. So yes, as folks hopefully know by now, September 22nd is going to be this year's National Voter Registration Day. We're a nonpartisan national holiday that involves large-scale coordinated field, technology, and media efforts by partners of all stripes and sizes across the country to lift up and encourage voter registration. The holiday has been celebrated every year since 2012 on the 4th Tuesday of September. 3 million voters have registered on the holiday to date. Notably, 1.5 million of those have come in the last 2 years, in either 2018 or 2019. So we're really hoping to ride that momentum wave to the biggest ever National Voter Registration Day this year. And it's important that we do that in spite of COVID, but also very much because of COVID. Many of you may know that the pandemic has caused voter registration rates across the country to plummet. The most common way that Americans get registered to vote is at their DMV, followed by in-person events on college campuses and high schools, at concerts. All of those are not taking place. So it's even more important that we engage in a large-scale nationwide push to get voters registered this year. Also, due to the pandemic, it is more important to help all voters take advantage of all the options that are going to be available to them to vote, particularly in cities where crowded polling places can be a common challenge. The more voters that we can get registered early, the more can do things like vote by mail or vote early in person, or even not have to be stuck in the polling station on election day, updating their registration or casting a provisional ballot. Go to the next slide. There we go. So we are asking all of you to get involved and think big this year. Mayors across the country have engaged around National Voter Registration Day. Some ideas here for how you can plug in. Become a partner on our website. When you become a partner, you're committing to organizing a voter registration event on or offline on the holiday. We provide you with free posters and stickers and lots of support along the way. Many public officials, secretaries of state, national election official associations, mayors have issued press releases ahead of National Voter Registration Day calling for nonprofits and businesses and youth groups in their communities to sign on as a partner. We've also seen cities and states pass resolutions endorsing National Voter Registration Day as a holiday, as a way of elevating its importance. We hope that both the House and Senate will be passing resolutions at the federal level within the next 2 weeks. Mayors can also seek out media appearances, pen an op-ed, talk to voters in your city in your own words about why voter registration is important, and encourage them to get registered on the holiday or before. You can also reach out to and recognize National Voter Registration Day partners in your city and work with them to sort of elevate and support the great work that they're all doing. On the big day itself, first and foremost, organize or attend an event to, again, get voters registered, use the platforms you have at your disposal to make sure that everyone has a chance to participate in the polls this year. We're asking everyone to elevate the day on social media and do similar things, as I mentioned before in the lead up, issue press releases, seek media appearances, There are some snapshots here on the slide of ways in which mayors have done that. Last but not least, we recognize that you all have an enormous amount going on this year. So we make a very big effort to help you participate in these ways in a way that's low lift and effective. So you can sign on as a partner on our website, as I mentioned. I'll send around the link in the chat. But on our website, we have a whole toolkit for election offices and public officials such as yourselves, including a fact sheet on how and why to get involved in National Voter Registration Day, a communications toolkit with key messages and background research. We have social media graphics and copy that you can download. We also have a sample press release and a resolution in favor of the holiday that you can use as sort of a boilerplate template for something that would resonate with voters in your city. Coming soon, we'll have an events map where you can look up National Voter Registration Day events in your city and also look up different partners. And last but not least, we have posters and stickers available for purchase and download in English and 12 additional languages. So again, thank you all for your commitment to voter engagement. It is more important this year than ever. And we hope that September 22nd will be a tentpole moment in your calendar as you think about how to get voters in your city involved this year. There's our website. My contact info is there. Please feel free to reach out. And I look forward to the discussion.
Lauren, thanks for the great set of ideas in the toolkit. A question, what's your goal for National Voter Registration Day in terms of number of people registering?
Yeah, good question. So our goal is to make it the biggest one ever. So the 2018 holiday was our record so far, where 865,000 voters registered. So my moonshot goal is 1 million, and I think we can get there.
Excellent.
Fingers crossed.
And now we have, let me turn to Joey Wozniak, who's the project director for Vote Early Day, which is a new civic holiday and nonpartisan coalition to help citizens vote early. This year's Vote Early Day is October 24th, 2020. Joey?
Great. Thank you so much, Gordon. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Before I dive into Vote Early Day, while I was a student in college, I interned for our consolidated government down in Macon-Bibb County, Georgia. And during that time, had the distinct pleasure to help lead our youth commission and to work with all of the different youth commissions across the state of Georgia, including Mayor Van Johnson's youth commission in Chatham County, and now with the city of Savannah itself. And ultimately even got to go with crew them as one of the, as a college student mentor to Japan with our crew from Macon-Bibb County, which was a lot of fun. And so I come to this conversation with the background of working with youth commissions and investing in them, and also believing and supporting their power and, you know, helping them achieve whatever they want to achieve. And I think it's one of the best sort of structures we have across America to lift up the youth voice. But without further ado, over 200 million Americans have some type of option to vote early. And as everyone here is very familiar with, the rules for voting early varies from state to state, sometimes county to county. There's two major reasons why voting early is more important than ever before, and that's why we're having the inaugural Vote Early Day for the first time ever in 2020. One, we do not want voters to have to choose between their health and their civic duty or their right to vote. And second, we want to prevent long lines on election day. What we've heard time and time again is that people like voting early. 40% of the population, they already do, whether that's in person early or by mail through the absentee process. We've learned that when voters learn about their options, they are more likely to take advantage of options to vote early as opposed to voting on election day. Americans feel that it is safer to vote early, especially in this election. And lastly, and most important, and one thing I want to emphasize, there is widespread bipartisan support for options to vote early and for Vote Early Day. We have a bipartisan Secretary of State Advisory Board, Secretary Raffensperger in Georgia, and Secretary Padilla in California, and more coming online to help advise our day and to help us develop messaging that is inclusive for all. Similar to Lauren's program at National Voter Registration Day and Giving Tuesday, we wanted to create a ownerless holiday that helped people learn about their options to vote early, thus birthing Vote Early Day, October 24th, 2020. Now, some of you may be asking, how can we get involved? Our program provides general templates for how to think about this, from holding COVID-proof activations, whether that's like car parades, house parties, or digital gatherings, to spreading the word through social media, helping recruit young poll workers, and ultimately also helping increase voter education around who's actually on your ballot, from all the way at the top from the president to all the way down at the local level. For our partners, we provide a few key materials, all of which are on our website at voteearlyday.org, and we are adding new resources every day, with several coming out next week, from toolkits and webinars to help you provide messaging and graphics for social media or email newsletters. We just finished developing a website to create a ton of content to give it to our partners to have easy access. We will have a tech tool on our website that will facilitate the voting early process for anyone in America. For those that can request an absentee ballot online, it will do so for them. For any partner that signs up by September 1st, we will send you a swag bag. And lastly, we are also looking for ample ways to provide recognition to all of our partners. Next steps, go to our website, sign up, become a partner, become part of our community. We're already over 400 partners. We have over 100 premier partners, and we would love for you to be involved. Consider sharing Vote Early Day with your communities. And lastly, if anyone has any questions, I'm sure James will share this information as well after, but feel free to email me directly. And if your youth commission just wants to brainstorm, know that, especially because of my background, I'm more than willing to just make some time and hop on the phone and do whatever I can to help. Thanks, James, and thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Joey, and thanks for sharing your activation framework. And I really love the juxtaposition between National Voter Registration Day in September, followed by Vote Early Day in October. And now our last panelist I'm pleased to introduce is Commissioner Benjamin Hovland from the United States Election Assistance Commission, which is a part of the United States government. The EAC is an independent, bipartisan commission charged with developing guidance to meet Help America Vote requirements, and serves as a national clearinghouse of information on election administration. And I have to tell you, their website has a myriad of information and resources. Ben?
Thanks, Gordon. I appreciate the opportunity to join this webinar and this great group. Again, for those of you not familiar with the Election Assistance Commission, or EAC, we are a small agency, but we're also the only federal agency dedicated solely to election administration. Our mission, as Gordon said, is to help help election officials improve the administration of elections and help Americans participate in the voting process. I'd be excited to join this effort and discuss youth engagement any year, but this year it's going to be particularly important in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, as we've heard from the other panelists. There's just such a real chance to help both voters, but also election officials by engaging early. And I thank you for your interest, commitment, and dedication to this effort. The resources page and the roadmap are great. I'm going to highlight 6 real things that I want to flag for folks to make a difference. I tried to limit it to 5, but I couldn't do it this year. So, luckily I'm bad in cleanup, and so it's going to save me some time. And some of these I think are going to be really obvious how they're immediately impactful for youth and young people. But I think the other part of it is things that can be done to make the voting experience positive. And we know that if people have a positive experience with voting the first time, they're more likely to keep doing it and becoming lifetime voters. So it's also important that we make the process as good as possible. So first and foremost, number 1, help people get registered. Lauren, National Voter Registration Day, great. We're happy to partner in that effort. I'm not going to belabor it because Lauren hit the high points, but voter registration matters. It just does. And if there's only one thing on the list that you do, that's it. 2, helping to educate voters about mail and absentee ballot options. In 2016, about a quarter of Americans voted early by absentee or mail ballot, but we've already seen records set in the primaries, and it's going to continue through November. Mail ballots are great. That's how I usually vote, but it takes time on delivery, sort of both directions and processing for election officials. So you have to have a plan. You have to start early, and voter education around mail and absentee ballots is crucial. Joey talked about early voting day or Vote Early Day 2020. Again, awesome. We're glad to have joined in that and promote it. Great day to send your ballot in and be confident that it'll get there in plenty of time. But we also know that mail and absentee ballots aren't going to work for all Americans. And so having polling places that are as safe as possible for voters and poll workers is going to be crucial. One way to help with that, voting early. If you can help reduce election day congestion, that's good for everybody. Another way, that brings me to 4, poll workers. I mentioned the need for polling places. Polling places depend on poll workers. There's a challenges recruiting poll workers every year. This is a whole new level this year. The EAC is actually launching an effort to create a national poll worker recruitment day to get in on the day theme of this panel. We're excited about it. We're looking at September 1st. Mark that on your calendar. More information should be available next week. We weren't planning to do it, but because of COVID, I think it's necessary. You're seeing significant poll worker drop off and a real need for it. And so we're trying to step up and fill that gap quickly. Again, if you can help promote that, amazing. Young poll workers would be great. And a very specific plug for the mayors. This might hurt a little bit, but I'm just going to pull the Band-Aid. If you can give city employees administrative leave to serve as poll workers, this has been very successful in a number of places across the country and is a big deal. 5, polling locations. If your city has large buildings that are accessible and can allow for socially distanced polling setup, your local election official may need help. With senior centers and other regular polling locations being unavailable this year, election officials are looking for good options. And 6, and last, trusted source information. We know there's going to be bad information out there. There just is, and voters need trusted source information. I usually say that means state and local election officials. Having worked in a Secretary of State's office, I also know that most voters don't know who their state or local election official is, but a lot of them know their mayor. A lot of them trust their friends. And so to the degree that you can promote that trusted source information that from state and local officials, it's a big deal to make sure people can get it right. Thank you.
Ben, thank you. I really appreciate your granular suggestions. And I want to thank all the panelists. And I think the thing that's so amazing about all 4 organizations, all of the efforts are nonpartisan. And I see that James has been sharing the links to each of the organizations in the chat box. And now, most importantly, we want to turn to our youth leaders and mayors to hear from you. And I've got a couple of questions I want to ask. If we need to, we'll refer back to our panelists. And if you want to ask a question, just click on participants, and then off to the right, in the middle of your screen, Zoom screen, you'll see an icon that says raise hand. And once James Kirby calls on you, please just introduce yourself, your city, and your role. So the first question is, and this is really for mayors and youth leaders, talk to us a little bit about your current voter engagement efforts in your city. What are you doing, and how are you including young people in your activities? And James is going to help me with the Q&A. James?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thank you all so much for being here. It really means a lot that we can get all of these cities from across the country united. So if you could all raise your hand on your on Zoom so we can call on you to answer the question that Gordon just asked, that would be great. And first up, we have Bryce Leidke from Topeka, who's going to talk about what he's doing in Topeka with the Topeka Youth Commission. Bryce?
Yeah, thank you, James. So when I was thinking about this question, I wanted to make it kind of simple for everybody to understand, because what the Youth Commission has done in Topeka is really taken on the voter engagement process and tried to make it as inclusive as possible and get as much done as we can. So one thing we realized in Topeka, and I'm sure there's other communities that are this way, there's a lot of different organizations and individuals that are very passionate about organization and organizing voter engagement, but they're not necessarily connected. So we've identified over 15 organizations just in Shawnee County and Topeka alone that want to engage voters, but they're all doing it separately. So we have at least 15 different people and organizations working on the same project, and it'll be much more powerful if we're able to unite everyone, come together, because we're striving for the same goal, but we're all working against each other, reaching the same people instead of working together. So that's one thing we're trying to do, is really go into our community, figure out what the common goal is, what the need is in our community, and then how we can work together. And I think that piece is really important. The second thing we're doing is we realized youth especially, and there are adults as well, aren't necessarily educated about the processes that are going on. So the Youth Commission, who is one of the most connected youth groups in our city right now, a lot of our members didn't even understand how the process worked, why there was 2 dates, one, what's the primaries, what does your party matter? So there was a lot of questions that we were clarifying at the Youth Commission, and those are some of our most engaged youth in our community. So there's definitely a lot of education that needs to happen, especially voter apathy, why does your vote matter? And so I think that's the second piece, is educating what your process is in your community, why it's important and how you can get involved. And then the third one that we have come up with is making voting easy. And so youth especially, and you guys too, I know you're all busy. We don't like to read super long paragraphs, and the ads that we see on TV just get overwhelming. Right now, you're probably already tired of them, muting them already, because that's all you see now. So those are not really effective, and the long paragraphs you see on social media, those also get scrolled through. So one thing we're trying to do is so we have primaries on August 4th. So we're trying to get all of our candidates on one piece of paper, giving them basically bullet points, what they believe, what they want to see, what their goals are, and then making I guess you could call it a test, but a fake ballot where they can mark off who they want to vote for before they even go into the polls. So they're able to vote at home. It doesn't really count, obviously, but they're able to go through that, mark who they want to see on a very easy one sheet of paper, compare candidates, see who best matches their ideologies. And so that way it's really easy when they go into the polls and they understand who they're voting for when they see that ballot that has so many different names on it. And that way they're already prepared and they're more likely to vote and have that better experience. So that's just some of the things we're doing here in Topeka and Shawnee County as the Youth Commission.
Thank you so much, Bryce. And next we have Mayor Barty, Port Arthur, Texas.
Well, first of all, the information that you all are giving is real helpful. If I'm correct, I just wanted to bring you up to date on some of the things that we've done in Port Arthur. I've only been the mayor for 1 year, but prior to that, worked in the school system. I taught high school government, U.S. government. And we have engaged in students, and we participated in voter registration day with my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi, and with our Guide Right and Kappa League students, which I'm the director of Guide Right for our fraternity and our alumni chapter. And we have registered students on that day in September of, the previous 3 years, I believe it has been, about 3 years, going back, that they had begun having voter registration day, and we were involved in it through our Guide Right program, and my principal allowed us to do it, and it's an ongoing thing. It was when I taught school there, because every student received a birthday gift from me when they turned 18. I would give them candy and a voter registration card. So we have engaged students in that, like that here in Port Arthur. It's worked tremendously. I think one year we probably registered about 60 kids. And then we have done it a couple of other days in the school year, just because students had that interest in it. Also, with the voter registration, we've been able to get students to involve themselves with different political candidates. trying to be nonpartisan. However, in the municipal realm here in our city, it's nonpartisan. And then when we deal with the primaries, we in Texas, we've got to make a party declaration. And students, no matter what party they identified with their families or whatever, they were encouraged to work with those candidates, to learn how candidates are actually elected and learn what all the mechanisms that are involved with being elected. And what we've done is probably raise the awareness, so to speak, for students in our community by having them involved in this. Now, the engagement, I feel the engagement tenet here is actually doing it at a level that they understand and that they feel free about doing it. Some students, they're reluctant to get involved, and sometimes it's because of how things are at home or just what they actually feel about the community. But it has proven to be successful, and I think what it does, it causes those students who, when they enter adulthood, after or if they go away to college or armed forces or whatever, or just go out in the world of work and leave the area, they will participate in government there. So doing that, I know it's a plus. And to the students who are on now, if you've never been involved in it, it's a good time to do it. And these ideas and programs that you all have, I'm really looking forward to this vote early day on October 24th, because that's something that you could probably engage a lot of students. The last thing I want to say is, I know all of this is going to take a new face this school year because of COVID. We want, we have 4 different districts here in our city, and I don't think any of them will be doing face-to-face instructions for about 4 weeks, and probably if it goes the way it's going, probably for the 8 or 9 weeks, or maybe even for until after sometime in October, or maybe when the general election is. So it's going to be a challenge to actually get students registered. So I was trying to find out, what do you all think you can employ to actually involve the students and get great student participation with school happening the way it's going on right now. But hopefully I didn't take up too much time, and I'm just explaining what's going on in our city and how we've been doing it.
Mayor Barty, thanks to you, and thanks to Bryce. And James, let's do one more comment before we move on to the next question.
Sure, we have Stephen Reed up next. Stephen?
Hello guys, my name is Nick Johnson. I'm actually representing Stephen Reed. He couldn't be here at the moment. They're handling a few other things. But I will say that in regards to Montgomery, we have actually leaned heavily on our fraternities and sororities to get the job done when going out to register voters. We actually have a really big organization here called Rolling to the Polls. And what they do is actually go out to different areas, and mainly a lot of areas where there isn't really high voter turnout. And they try to get people registered as much as possible whenever they can, even despite the pandemic that we see right now. But I will say, because I had a couple of questions, and it's actually in relation to what Mayor Barty said earlier. You know, with COVID being, you know, such a big topic this year, and it's going to affect basically a lot of what we do, how is it that we can register our high school students especially? And I'm sorry, the camera's not on. Let me turn it on. Can you guys see me by chance?
I can see you, Stephen.
Now we can, yes.
I'm sorry, my name is Nicholas, by the way, Nicholas
Oh, I'm
Johnson.
sorry, Nicholas. It comes up as Stephen, so I apologize.
Yeah, it's okay, it's okay. But I actually had a recommendation for that. So I was thinking that, you know, maybe we utilize the online voter registration process more this year. A lot of states do have online voter registration processes. And what we can possibly do is, you know, maybe reach out to the teachers that are educating their students via Zoom, and maybe have them, you know, possibly host a voter registration session with them. And this could be done at the college level too, depending on how social distancing will go and how we'll be required to interact with each other on campuses. Because we are actually talking a lot about how we'll be able to just even do the simple things, such as go to cafeteria to eat. everything's going to be affected this year a lot. And so, I think that may be a good thing if we go through the online registration process, and also, for students that are maybe out of state, because, they may not be willing to register in state, how about we get people, or how about we, collect forms from outside of the state that, that students come from. That way, but I think there are like plenty of ways we can do things. But I would definitely recommend using the online registration process a lot more this year, given the current circumstances.
Great, thanks for sharing. And let me turn to our next question. How are you beginning to spread the word? And I'm looking to our mayors and youth leaders about voter registration, voting by mail, and the broader voting process. And what are some of the challenges you're facing, and what are some of the opportunities that you see? James.
All right, we have Sage Davis. Would you like to say a few words?
Hi, Mr. James. I'm Sage McFadder. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. So I'm actually the president of an organization in my state called the New Jersey Student Ambassadors. We also have the East Orange Youth Commission. I'm here on behalf of Mayor Ted Green of East Orange, New Jersey. So during the school year, what I think a few of our representatives from the city, Brittany Claybrooks, is the mayor of the second ward. I don't know, probably not important information. Anywho, so she came in and she's teaching the students, juniors and seniors, specifically in my school at the moment, about what the Democratic Party is, what the Republican Party is, what the different parties are, what the voting system is like, et cetera, et cetera. And I only know about that in my school. And so I took it among myself to try and advertise to my student ambassadors. We probably have about 200 throughout the state. Hey, come in, learn about voting. You're allowed to get registered to vote and whatnot. And so it was kind of going smoothly until, of course, we entered our global pandemic. So I suppose my question is, in the midst of the global pandemic, like the question before me from Nicholas, what can I do while partnered with my mayor? Because that really encourages the youth when they see their own representatives and people that come from where they come from, but also have a lot of control. What can I do alongside the politicians within my area to still get youth to get excited about voting? I don't really know how to word it, but really familiarize them with the political system and how to register to vote and all that good stuff.
So Sage and Nicholas, it's a great question. And Lauren, let me turn back to you. So suggestions?
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer that question, and it will surprise no one that it's one we get a lot. So we are preparing to support our partners, who will be between 4,000 and 5,000 community groups across the country, to do events both on and offline, depending on what makes sense for them and in their communities. We actually just ran the numbers this morning, and we estimate, based on what our partners have told us, that about 20% of them are going to be doing work online this year. So I'll send around the link in the chat, but last month we organized what we called a virtual resource fair to familiarize some of our partners with the different civic tech tools out there that can help you reach out to voters and get them registered online, or get them to start the registration process online if online voter registration isn't available in their states. We're also investing a lot more this year in terms of supporting our partners to do virtual voter registration events. So, you know, like setting up a Zoom call like this one, where everyone fills out their voter registration form at the same time, and having a couple experts on hand who are familiar with the state requirements, maybe someone from your local election office, to answer questions that come up. Because, you know, a lot of times that's the value of an in-person voter registration drive. Someone who may have language access challenges, or someone who has never registered to vote before, they might have questions about like what a certain field means and what they need to fill out. So having someone there to sort of guide them through the process is really helpful. And I will note, just as a last thing, you know, in addition to online events and voter engagement and outreach, we're also supporting our partners this year to do in-person events that incorporate public health safety measures. So we just put out a guide on COVID-proofing your in-person event. So talking about ways in which you can do an in-person voter registration drive that incorporates social distancing and hygiene and some like more touchless or lower contact methods to still get voters registered and not lose that sort of personal touch, but still do it in a way that keeps everyone safe to the best of our ability.
Great, Lauren. Thanks. Very helpful. One more question for this round.
Sure. And next we have Sinan Kasim. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Sinan Qasim. I'm from Parkland, Florida, and I'm a guest of Mayor Christine Hanchovsky. And I just have to say that I am in awe of all of the mayors and youth leaders who are on this call, because mayors, you are the backbone of our country. I really believe that from a young age, when we see you in action and when you inspire us from a young age, that's when we are inspired to get involved in our own communities and to register to vote. I can speak to that for Mayor Hanchovsky from my own personal perspective, and then maybe if she wants to attest to some of the activities that are going on. But I know that Mayor Hanchovsky is a big advocate for speech and debate. So as a speech debater, when I travel across the country and when we as students travel across the country to talk about these societal issues, when we know that there is someone in government like our mayors listening to us, then that inspires us to go out and vote and be involved. I know that when I was president of my student government in middle school, Mayor Hanchovsky was at all of our community events and was there for our students. So that inspires us to get involved. I also know that we have an amazing Student Mayor for a Month program. And through that, we learn hands-on about civic engagement, about local government, and about the importance of voting. And in that, we see our mayors put their heart, their soul, and everything that they have into our communities. And that inspires us. And so right now, I know that in community outreach that I'm helping as much as I can with the mayor, we're taking every opportunity that we have to spread the message about early voting information and voting by mail information. So I'm just inspired and in awe of everyone on this call, because you are our backbone. And from the youngest age, even during this pandemic, if we can connect with as many people as we can who are youth, then that will inspire them to get involved. Because when we see our mayors who are right there in the forefront of everything, putting everything that they have into our communities, then that is the selling point for us to get involved. So thank you for the chance to speak on this, and I think those have been some of the touch points that I've seen.
So Sinan, I really want to thank you. And you're right about mayors, but I have to tell you, it's whether it's you, Sage, Nicholas, Bryce, and the other youth leaders on the call, you all are just as important. So yes, it's the mayors, but the mayors couldn't do it with our young people and youth leaders around the country. So thanks to all of you. And our last question is, we all know that identifying safe polling places, and our panelists have already talked about this, and recruiting poll workers is going to be really important this election cycle, particularly given the pandemic. And are there any cities that want to share what they've been doing in this space, and also to ensure that there are an adequate number of polling places and polling places that are accessible? James.
All right. I'll give everybody a second to raise their hands. We have Mayor Lyles from Charlotte. Would you like to say a few words?
I wanted to say to everyone, this is an exceptional time to spend with everyone, and the work is just great. So we have opened our football stadium, our basketball arena, and our hockey arena for early voting sites this year. So I just wanted to share the idea. I know that the NBA is encouraging stadiums in other locations, no matter what they do, whether women or men, basketball, they're encouraging their stadiums to open up, and they're also allowing their in-house staffs to be trained as poll workers for the 14 days of early voting that we have in, I think it's 14, it's either 12 or 14. They always change it, you know, they're always after what can we do to make it harder. instead of what we can do to make it easier. But I wanted to encourage any of you that are working with any of your large buildings that are in the sporting arena area for social distancing and access. These were at places that we're opening and have found it to be people ready to do something. With COVID going on, these institutions want to be supportive of these kinds of efforts, so encourage that.
Mayor Lyles, great suggestion. James?
Mayor Hunchofsky, do you want to say a couple of words? I see your hands raised.
I don't know how I follow Sinan on his speech. So he's amazing. But we've been doing a lot of work here, especially in South Florida, where we do have a lot of community spread in really promoting the safety of voting by mail. And the way I promote the safety of voting by mail is I'm on the ballot and my family is voting by mail. So I don't know who has more of an interest of making sure it's safe and counted than people who are on the ballot. So we have been promoting the pictures of showing how we vote by mail, also showing where they can go on the website to track to make sure it's been received. And we've been pushing out the dates of when the cutoffs are to register to vote, when to change your voter registration, and really been communicating as much as possible. There is a lot of misinformation out there that we have to work against. Additionally, we have been sharing all the information about the need for poll workers, where people now are on some tough times and there might be some unemployment issues. Poll worker is also a way to earn some extra money in the meantime. But we have really been pushing vote by mail, and we're actually expecting vote by mail to be at over 50% of the vote that is being counted in our August primary. So vote by mail will be a huge thing. And we're also talking about a plan to vote. So while I say that my job, our family's decision is to vote by mail, we let everybody know of all the options and also say, what is your plan to vote? So it's not just, I'm just pushing information, but I'm asking people to engage. And Sinan, who is on this call, and also we have another university student from Parkland, Carly is also on this call. We're putting together a team starting August 19th of really pushing out with early voting and vote by mail for November.
Right. Mayor, thank you. And I love your idea of what's your plan to vote. That really resonates. And James, we have time for one more comment.
Fantastic. Mayor Mai from Fremont. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I apologize. I am multitasking like many other mayors do. I apologize. I was actually in my car. But I wanted to say that we should also leverage, if possible, any opportunities that already exist. In our city, much like others who are experiencing the impact of COVID, we've been doing drive-through food pickup. And I was thinking that that's an excellent option because people are already social distancing. They are coming face-to-face. And in the past 2.5 weeks alone, we've delivered over 2,500 boxes of food. And so with families and people in those needs, it's an excellent time for us to communicate those need for registration for voters. The other thing is that the other events that many cities are also experiencing are with census and getting people to complete the census. And we've had some of those events, and that's another opportunity to register. Finally, because of the soft reopening or the way that we're addressing businesses, we've been doing patio pop-ups for our dining spaces. And an option may be also to create some tent cards or messaging that would be available on those tables to let people know or create awareness of how to register to vote. I also strongly encourage here within our communities, besides the high school community, to reach out to our college students. Also maybe reaching out to our faith-based and the leaders that are in our community. In Fremont, we are a majority minority city, and we also have an incredible wealth of diversity of interfaith outreach. And so to be able to work with those people that they already trust and have the communications with, it'd be an excellent venue. And I look forward to this discussion and continuing this. We were fortunate as a city to be partnering with the school district, as I was a former school board member for many years. And we had gone out to all of the high schools that had Get Out to Vote registration events. We had a rally at the library where we included all the students, and they marched down to City Hall, and I joined them on that walk, where they were able to drop off their voter registration forms right in front of City Hall too, in one of our boxes. So look forward to many more weeks of this and being able to be successful in getting more awareness of this messaging out. Thanks.
So Mayor Mike, great suggestions. Piggyback on what's already happening, whether it be the drive-through food pickup, the census, patio pop-ups, and the like. So with that, I really want to thank our panelists, our mayors, our youth leaders, and particularly the U.S. Conference of Mayors, Tom Cochran, James Kirby, and David Burns. And one thing I want to leave you with is to make sure you use the resources that we put on the USCM voter engagement page. Follow the National Voter Engagement Roadmap that we've made to help build your local programs. And you get a sense that everyone's city is approaching it differently, but that's what's so exciting and so important. And participate in our upcoming monthly webinars. Our next webinar is Monday, August 31st at 1 p.m. And with that, let me turn it back to Mayor De La Isla. Mayor?
Well, it is a treat to have all of these experts, and most importantly, to have our young experts make sure that they have all of the resources. So I am so grateful for all the mayors, seeing Mayor May and seeing Mayor Lyles and just all of the other mayors just here speaking and giving power to their students is absolutely inspiring. I want to tell all these students to remember that you have power. I want to remind you all that it is extremely important, more than ever. One of my friends who's in the Senate in New York always says, this is not a drill. And guess what? Regardless of what party you are, this is not a drill. It is the time that each of you has the opportunity to make changes in this country, to make sure that there is representation, that will listen to you and to support everything that you want to advocate for, but we need you. So make sure that you check the chat, because James has been extremely diligent and been sharing with you all the chats. Before we wrap up, just go do a copy paste of it and put it on your Word document or wherever you want to place it. Make sure that you get in touch with Lauren and with everybody else, with Ben, whomever you want to get in touch with. Remember those important days. 9/22, registration. 8/24, it's going to be the day that we're all going to vote early. And remember to vote early, because if we're going to do all the paper ballots, we need to have those early so that we have the soonest possible those ballots counted. Okay, so thank you all for what you do. Let's keep this conversation going. And I know that this year is going to be wonderful because you're a part of it. Have a great day.
Take care. Bye-bye.